Hello everyone, RVer Frank here with Kathee and Coco. And we are traveling out in these parts on our way to Bishop, California. We are continuing north on this journey up the old El Camino Sierra US 395 highway. I thought I would make this video along the way that highlight the diverse history of the area and pioneer stories of how it was back in the day. So come along, join us, and enjoy the ride and a little bit of history. As we pass the Alabama Gate Spillway, location of the Owens Valley Waterhole, we are coming up to the land of the displaced, the old ghost town site of Manzanar. As we pass through, I will tell you about the rich history of this area. Manzanar, the land of the displaced. It was 1908 when Manzanar served as a shipping point for the surrounding productive apple orchards prior to the diversion of water by the Los Angeles Aqueduct. Manzanar, Spanish for apple orchard, was a town here in Inyo County, California, founded by Canadian-American water engineer George Chaffee. Located on the east side of Owens Valley from here off 395 was the Manzanar, Colorado and Carson narrow gauge railway station. The decision to locate the rail line east of the valley rather than populated towns to the west along the El Camino Sierra was based on economic factors. The populated western side of the valley was bisected by numerous small streams that flowed down from the nearby Sierra. By locating the trackage on the east side, much bridging and grading was avoided, and there would be no threat of washouts. The Carson and Colorado Southern Pacific narrow gauge is now but a memory. The historic narrow gauge steam locomotive, known as the Slim Princess, built in Philadelphia in 1911, is on display at DA Park at the northwest end of Independence. Nearby, during World War II, the Manzanar area was the location of the Japanese-American internment camp. Today, Manzanar is most widely known as the first site of 10 relocation centers where Japanese Americans were incarcerated during World War II. Long before the relocation center was established in March 1942, approximately 1,500 years ago, the Manzanar area was settled by the Owens Valley Shoshone Paiute, who ranged across the Owens Valley from Long Valley north of Bishop to Owens Lake on the south end, from the crest of the Sierra Nevada on the west to the Inyo Mountains on the east. They lived near several creeks in the Manzanar area as they hunted, fished, collected pine nuts, and raised crops. They also traded goods across the Sierra Nevada to the west. In the late 19th century, miners and ranchers settled in the area, and early 20th century farmers and fruit growers established the town of Manzanar in 1910. They abandoned the town in 1929 after the city of Los Angeles purchased the water rights to virtually the entire area. As different as these groups were, their histories displayed a common thread of forced displacement and relocation. Euro-American exploration of eastern California, spurred by the fur trade, set the stage for non-Indian settlement in the Owens Valley. The record of Euro-American exploration in the Owens Valley begins in 1829, when Hudson's Bay Company trapper Peter Ogden entered the area. In 1834, Captain Joseph Rutherford Walker led a beaver trapping expedition and crossed through the Owens Valley en route to the Pacific coast. A member of the Walker Party recorded his impression of the region, which represents the earliest known written description of the Owens Valley. He described the valley as very poor and almost destitute of grass. Walker made subsequent trips through the area, leading a mapping survey in 1845 that included the pathfinder John C. Fremont. According to Owens Valley chronicler William Shuffont, Fremont named the valley after a member of the survey party, Richard Owens, because he was a good mountaineer, good hunter, and good shot, cool, brave, and of good judgment. Though Fremont and Owens crossed the Sierra further south and didn't actually enter the Owens Valley, Walker returned to the area and crossed the mountains west of China Lake through the pass now named after him. In Walker's subsequent travels through the region, he was joined by Edward M. Kern, a photographer and topographer who kept a journal of the trip. These early descriptions of the Owens Valley gave a sense of how the area was initially viewed by Euro-Americans. As the party traversed the central portion of the valley, Kern observed that they were obliged to keep some distance from the Owens River on account of a large marsh. Kern described the Owens River as a fine, bold stream. From 1855 to 1856, A.W. von Schmidt, working under federal contract, conducted the first federal land survey of the region east of the Sierra and south of Vanna Lake. Von Schmidt noted, "The land in this valley is worthless, but with very few exceptions, the only portion of any value is near the banks of the little stream of water coming from the Sierra Nevada mountains. On a general average, the country forming Owens Valley is worthless to the white man, both in soil and climate. At the time of von Schmidt's survey, there were no white settlers living in the Owens Valley." The Owens Valley had received scant attention from European Americans before the early 1860s. By July of 1860, nearly 100 men were prospecting in the valley. These itinerant miners led the way, opening the region to more permanent settlement. Drought conditions in the Central Valley of California in the early 1860s induced stockmen to locate adequate pasture lands for their livestock, eventually driving cattle and sheep through Walker Pass and into the Owens Valley. Cattle grazing began in the Lone Pine area in 1861. By the mid-1860s, some 2,000 acres. When gold and silver were discovered in the Sierra Nevada and Inyo Mountains, the resulting sudden influx of miners, farmers, cattlemen, and their hungry herds brought conflict with the Owens Valley Paiute, whose crops were being destroyed. The Owens Valley Indian Wars of 1861 to 1863 ensued. In the end, the Owens Valley Paiute, along with other native peoples in the region, were forced at gunpoint by the United States Army to walk almost 200 miles to Fort Tejon, in one of the many forced relocations, or Trail of Tears, inflicted upon Native Americans in the United States. Approximately 1/3 of the Native Americans in Owens Valley were forcibly relocated to Fort Tejon. After 1863, many returned to the permanent villages that had been established along creeks flowing down from the Sierra Nevada mountains. In the Manzanar area, the Owens Valley Paiute had established villages along George's, Bears, Shepherd's, and Sims Creeks. Evidence of Paiute settlement in the area is still present. When European American white settlers first arrived in Owens Valley in the mid-19th century, they found a number of large Paiute villages in the Manzanar area. John Shepherd, one of the first of the new settlers, homesteaded 160 acres of land 3 miles north of George's Creek in 1864. With the help of the Owens Valley Paiute, field workers and laborers, he expanded his ranch to 2,000 acres. In 1905, George Chaffee, an agricultural developer from Southern California, purchased Shepherd's ranch and subdivided it, along with other adjacent ranches. He founded the town of Manzanar in 1910. Chaffee's Owens Valley Improvement Company built an irrigation system and planted thousands of fruit trees. A post office operated in Manzanar from 1911 to 1914. By 1920, the town of Manzanar had more than 25 homes, a 2-room school, a town hall, and a general store. Also at the time, nearly 5,000 acres of apple, pear, and peach trees were under cultivation, along with crops of grapes, prunes, potatoes, corn, and alfalfa, and large vegetable and flower gardens. Manzanar was a happy place and a pleasant place to live during those years, with its tree-lined country lanes, meadows, and cornfields, said Martha Mills, who lived at Manzanar from 1916 to 1920. Some of the early orchards, along with remnants of the town and ranches, are still present at Manzanar today. As early as March 1905, the city of Los Angeles began secretly acquiring water rights in the Owens Valley. In 1913, it completed construction of its 233-mile Los Angeles aqueduct. But it did not take long for the Los Angeles water officials to realize that Owens River water was not enough to supply the rapidly growing metropolis. In 1920, they began to purchase more of the water rights in Owens Valley. As the decade went on, the city of Los Angeles bought out one Owens Valley farmer after another and extended its reach northward into Mono County, including Long Valley. By 1933, the city owned 85% of all town property and 95% of all ranch and farmland in Owens Valley, including Manzanar. Although some residents sold their land for prices that made them financially independent from relocating, a significant number chose to stay. In dry years, Los Angeles pumped groundwater and drained all surface water, diverting all of it into its aqueduct, leaving Owens Valley ranchers without water. Without water for irrigation, the holdout ranchers were forced off their ranches and out of their communities. That included the town of Manzanar, which was abandoned by 1929. Manzanar remained uninhabited until the United States Army leased 6,200 acres from the city of Los Angeles for the Manzanar Relocation Center. After the December 7, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States government swiftly moved to begin solving the Japanese problem on the west coast of the United States. The California government pressed for action by the national government as many citizens were alarmed about potential adversarial activities by people of Japanese descent. On February 19, 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt signed the Executive Order 9066, which authorized the Secretary of War to designate military commanders to recommend military areas and to exclude any or all persons from such areas. The order also authorized the construction of what would later be called relocation centers by the War Relocation Authority to house those who were to be excluded. This order resulted in the forced relocation of over 120,000 Japanese Americans who were incarcerated in the 10 concentration camps located far inland and away from the coast. Manzanar was the first of 10 concentration camps to be established. Initially, it was a temporary reception center known as Owens Valley Reception Center from March 21, 1942 to May 31, 1942. At that time, it was operated by the U.S. Army's Wartime Civilian Control Administration. The Owens Valley Reception Center officially became the Manzanar War Relocation Center. Manzanar held 10,046 incarcerees at its peak, and a total of 11,070 people were incarcerated there. On the 21st of November 1945, Manzanar was the 6th camp to be closed. Within a couple of years, all the structures had been removed, with the exception of 2 sentry posts at the entrance, the cemetery monument, and the former Manzanar High School auditorium, which was purchased by the County of Inyo and used as a maintenance facility by the Inyo County Road Department. Manzanar, which had been historically owned by the City of Los Angeles, was registered as a Los Angeles Historical Cultural Monument in 1976. There is yet another LA Department of Water and Power assault that has been occurring in recent years in the Owens Valley, and specifically Manzanar. On the 23rd of April, 2015, the Northland Power Project, located next to Manzanar National Historic Site in Owens Valley, was withdrawn from its 20th position on the list on April 1st. Southern Owens Valley Solar Ranch was 9th on the priority queue list and also lost its place and was withdrawn on March 12th. The time limit on the interconnection request for the LA Department of Water and Power Solar Ranch expired, and as a result the project lost its spot in line hookup to LADWP's Inyo Rinaldi transmission line. But withdrawn from the queue to interconnect may not mean the project is dead. LADWP stated it will continue to examine the viability of this renewable project and many others, especially in light of the new state goals of 50% renewables by 2030. This project, if ever approved to be constructed, will negatively impact the peacefulness and beauty that exists here today.
Today our fight is about the solar project, that they want to ruin this entire valley by putting industrial solar energy projects here. I call them dirty green projects.
The Owens Valley is on the east side of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it's about 200 miles north of Los Angeles. It's surrounded by beautiful mountains on both sides. It's the deepest valley, was the name of it in the early days when Mary Austin was writing about our valley.
There is the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. They want to build Southern Owens Valley Solar Ranch on a 1,200-acre site.
They're talking about centralizing, putting large arrays of panels inappropriately in that part of the Owens Valley, and then moving and losing some of that power, bringing it back to LA. because you lose about 30 to 40% just moving energy through the wires.
It's about 2 square miles. They actually have to remove all vegetation on the site. They have to treat the soil with herbicides and soil consolidants.
We're certainly concerned with those impacts. We're concerned because of what that does to our culture, what that does to our environment, what that does to the many organisms which also rely on our environment.
There's a lot of archaeology, both prehistoric and historic stuff. The Owens Valley is like 90% federal land. The rest of it is owned by the LA Department of Water and Power. There's 1% private land in the whole county of Inyo.
That's why there's hardly anybody who lives here in the valley, because LA owns everything else. Well, it's right across from the Manzanar, an internment camp for World War II, where the Japanese people that lived in LA and around the country, they interned them and put on reservations, hidden away. It stole their lives like it did to the tribes. And there's over 60 sites over there with pinto points and all these other sites that were over 6,000 years old. And now they're just going to bulldoze them, grade them all out and ruin it, just kill it. Like colonialism does. It destroys your history and rewrites it. And if they destroy it, then you were never there because there's no proof of you ever being there.
Unlike what DWP officials are saying, there isn't a single point at Manzanar that you can't see 4 miles across to the east side of the Owens River where the solar ranch would be. What would literally destroy Manzanar's viewshed?
We think that there are some better solutions to these than taking large sections of untouched land, pristine land, completely changing that land forever with technology that, if you do the research, it's showing that the technology is quickly becoming outdated. The model is moving away from these giant, big installations and closer to home.
Understand that we're all players in this game, and we all can make a difference if that's what we want. And just, be receptive to one another and care for one another. I mean, what more could we ask?
So why don't we go to Bishop with more interesting places and stories ahead to share along the way. So travel safe, and we will see you soon.